Welcome back to GoldSeek TV. I'm joined by John Kaiser of Kaiser Research Online. It's great to see you again, John.
Vanessa, it's great to be here.
Now, John, let's start out talking about China recently declaring how much gold they purportedly own. What do you think of the numbers that they provided?
Well, China last reported its official gold holdings in 2009, said they had 1,054 tons, which was an improvement, a significant improvement from what they had before. Now, China is the world's biggest gold producers, and based on their annual production, we expected they have produced an extra 2,000 tons. Now, China is the official buyer. The bank is the official buyer of all gold production. Right. So we were expecting China to announce something like we own 3,000 tons, putting us ahead of Germany in terms of gold holdings and showing that, yes, we are diversifying against the US dollar and other foreign currencies into gold. Instead, they reported only 631 additional tons. And that sort of shocked the market because they're wondering what happened to the gold.
Absolutely.
Now, one angle is that they simply sold it to their own retail people or sold it into the world, but we know China has been a net importer. What I think they have done is they've reallocated it into other state-owned enterprises that are not part of the central bank reporting. So I think they still have it internally, and it suits their purpose very well to have gold go for a big dump, because if they are net accumulators of gold, why pump gold up and make everybody here at this conference happy?
Right, and it certainly would be acting in against their own self-interest. So I guess, is there a way to actually know what the true figure is?
There is no way to know the truth of any figure that China publishes.
Right.
They are still producing a substantial amount, 500 tons or so a year. But one of the things that I've been thinking about China is I believe it's going through a great environmental awakening, right, where it's deal with the devil in terms of being willing to pollute the environment, to just dump all the emissions into the rivers, into the air, and have a low cost for everything. That is coming to an end. And nobody seems to know where all of China's gold comes from. I think it comes from many small operations, many of them dirty and polluting. There is an environmental crackdown coming. It will follow in the wake of the corrupt official purge that Xi Jinping has underway, so that when Beijing makes an order, it actually goes all the way to the bottom and gets done rather than simply stop because the local level is completely corrupt. So I think we're going to see China's gold production capacity go down, and that's going to relieve some of the supply pressure. And insofar China is indeed still buying all its own gold and stashing it away, it may even have to go into the open market and start cleaning up the gold. And that's why the suggestion that they have, perhaps kind of pretended to only have accumulated 631 tons and helped the market down a bit could be very self-serving type of reporting by them.
Now let's talk about scandium. You've mentioned scandium in the last few interviews that we've done, and I know that it's been something that you've been actively watching. So what's the situation there?
Well, scandium, for those who don't know what it is an obscure metal that doesn't concentrate well, which when alloyed with aluminum does all kinds of wonderful things for aluminum. It makes it stronger, makes it corrosion resistant. Most importantly, it gives a energy efficiency boost. So an airplane made out of aluminum scandium alloy can be 15% lighter. And I'm excited about scandium because several deposits in Australia have been found and are owned by juniors. One of them is Robert Friedland's Clean Tech Holdings. The other is Scandium International, which is one that I own and that my readers own and that I have been recommending. These deposits are very large, and they are of a grade where they can be developed as primary scalable sources. So in a market like this where there are no trends in the metals to help us and there's no major discoveries, it is the perfect story because all you need to do is raise capital, and execute on building this and demonstrating to the world that yes, scandium can finally be produced at say $2,000 a kilo with a profit margin accruing to the producer, and then all these potential end users can step up and say, yes, I want this. And this will go from a $50 million a year market to a $2 billion a year market in about 10 years, and it will be dominated by two juniors who are cheap right now because of this awful bear market that has shell-shocked everybody.
Are you sharing what those companies are in your research or newsletter? Or?
Yes, they were part of my talks today. Scandium International Mining Corp, SCY on the TSX, is my favorite. It is the lower valued one. The other one, Cleantech Holdings, CLQ on the Australian Stock Exchange, that is Robert Friedland's company. They are in the midst of doing a $6.6 million rights offering that Robert has guaranteed 50%. He is putting his money where his mouth is. Robert understands the scandium story. The majority of people in the financial sector do not understand it, but Robert is a visionary. He's always ahead of the curve, and it pleases me enormously that he is in charge of the one of the two main horses that are going to supply the future scandium market.
It's a huge endorsement from someone like him. Well, just as we wrap up, John, why do you think we haven't seen more capitulation in the sector yet, and more M&A at this point? There's, I think, 500 or 600 companies that are just kind of, Rick Rule calls them the zombie companies, that haven't.
There are nearly 800 companies.
800.
That have negative working capital, and the TSX Venture portion of that owes $2.2 billion that will never get paid back. And these companies are trading in the pennies. They don't go down, they don't trade, they just sit there. The capitulation washout that's happening now, unleashed by the China stock market bubble collapse, which has caused the liquidation of all the hard asset that was collateral for all these loans for speculating in the stock market. This is affecting the big companies. It is the producers that are down 30-40% in the last eight weeks. It is the metals themselves which are down. It is the intermediate companies. It's suddenly everybody's realizing, oh my, the super cycle is gone. The gold boom is sideways at best if we're lucky, probably lower if all the bears continue with their raid. Mm-hmm. That is where the capitulation has happened. For the juniors, there is just this sense of, oh my, we've been hanging on for so long, waiting for this cyclical turnaround, and now with the big guys going down, it means it's going to be a very long time before it turns around for us. But that's not across the board. This is actually a good time to look for the companies that are going to be part of that 300, 400 companies which emerge from this in a few years as the future of the sector, a much better financed and manned group of companies with excellent stories. When there is a turnaround and the audience comes back, it will be an extremely discriminating audience. These lifestyle companies who have polluted this sector, they will not go anywhere. They are history.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us again today, John. It was a pleasure.
It's a pleasure, Vanessa.